I didn't really think about it until the end of the game. And it's, I think it's one of these things where you sort of flash back to like the past. I've had a lot of these like memories that pop up in recent times. And I remember the first time I broke 2800 was actually during the Zurich Chess Challenge. I won this very nice game out of preparation against Sergei Karyakin. I went out for a nice dinner, and the next day I lost, I think maybe my only loss. Maybe I lost one game later, but at least it was my first loss to Vishy Anand the next day in this Queen's Gambit decline. So I actually remember quite well the first time that I broke 2800, but still, to get back there is obviously quite nice.
We're hoping it's not followed by a loss again this time around. If you don't mind, I mean, we have many questions for you. There's obviously some chess going on. We'd love to get your thoughts.
Absolutely.
Maybe first and foremost on Magnus Carlsen's game with Alireza Firouzja, not because we're going to neglect the Armageddon game fans, but because obviously Magnus is trying to push, and we'd love to see whether Hikaru thinks that Magnus might have a chance to convert on that. We're going to pull it up, and we can see on the monitor here.
Yeah, so okay, so the time is 7:40 versus 2:50. That's the first thing. I think if Alireza had a half an hour on the clock, he would draw this pretty comfortably. But the time situation is not in his favor. So that's the first thing that I don't like about it. That being said, it's actually quite hard. I'm trying to think how it progresses, because the line that I'm thinking is like h5, king g7, king f5, but I think black can maybe even just go h6 here, and I don't actually know how you're supposed to do anything. Okay, we get king f7 instead, but we'll get king f5, rook b7, and black just shuffles, and how do you do anything is actually a big question.
Okay.
And we gotta try
One
to grab
second,
the board
I'm being told that they still see us on camera,
Yeah.
so we don't have the board up yet. So that was awesome, and we got to see everything Hikaru was saying. David's over here highlighting while Hikaru's analyzing. Oh, now we've got it. Okay, we've pulled it up. All right, we're gonna get to it. So.
Yeah, so I mean, king f5, and then rook b7, rook c7 forever, and how does white do anything is the question. I mean, I think Magnus, knowing Magnus, having played him a million times, he's going to do something stupid. He's just going to he's going to put the pawn on g3, play some moves, then put the pawn on f4. Like, he's going to make sure this does not, the critical moment does not happen right away. That's the first thing. Like, he's not going to go f4 and g4. He's going to go g3, make some rook moves, then try to see if there's something, and then maybe push f4, maybe push g4. So we have many moves before this gets critical, I would say. But I'm actually struggling to come with a good idea for white. If you can't do anything other than put the king on h4 and play some g4, I'm very skeptical this can actually be winning, honestly. Yeah, I would say, looking at it, Alireza's moves seem pretty obvious to me. Just shuffle the rook back and forth. I think what he's thinking about here is whether he should play h6 or not. I mean, I think probably h6 is fine, but I would most likely just shuffle rook b7, rook c7. Oh, he does it. Okay. I mean, there's the famous Levon. I mean, of course, Levon's not the only one to say this, but, when you push pawns forward, they can't go backwards. And I remember actually during my time working with Gary as well, one of the things he said about Magnus is Magnus loves it when someone pushes their pawns forward, just in general, because they can't go backwards. So, yeah, I mean, this should be a draw with perfect play, but, it is Magnus after all, and we have a long way to go. Actually, I know what he's going to do. He's going to put the king on h4, go g4, and then he's going to work the king back. Yeah, he's going to eventually put the king on h4, go g4, then work the king back, put the rook on d5 or something, and try to do something. That's what's going to happen. Whether that happens in 5 moves or 30 moves is the big question.
Okay.
But, I mean, I would say this should be a draw. I'm struggling to find a situation where Alireza has a move that's not obvious. I mean, basically is to keep the rook on the 7th rank and just shuffle. So because of that, he should be able to build up probably like 1 to 2 more minutes on the clock, I would think. Yeah, so he plays rook c7 right away. And that's the thing, is that it's not a situation where Alireza's moves are difficult. He really only has one plan, which is just sit on the 7th rank. So
that helps him.
Yeah, that helps him tremendously here, tremendously. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a draw with correct play, obviously. But, I mean, we have a ways to go, so who knows.
And, Hikaru, can we get your thoughts on some of the other games?
Sure, yeah. There's only one other game, right?
There's the Prague game versus Fabi, and then the Armageddon battle. If it gets spicy, we'll check in with you in June and Humpy Canero. But, okay, what are your thoughts on Prague's winning chances here?
So once again, what is the time situation? 12 to 1. I mean, again, obviously a draw with correct play. But let's see. So here, or wait, no, Fabi has 12 minutes. Never mind. If Fabi has 12 minutes here, I'd be very surprised if he loses this. I mean, I assume the idea here is to go knight g3 and knight f5 if you can. I actually think there's more chances of a win in this one than Magnus's game, actually. I mean, if Magnus had white here, I think he would win this. Let's put it that way. I've seen him swindle so many of these sort of knight end games. This should be a draw, but I don't know. I have this feeling that Pragg might win this game. I don't see, because unlike in Magnus' game, in this one, there's no obvious moves for black. Like, so Fabiano doesn't have any obvious setup. Now, luckily, is the 12 minutes versus Pragg with only 1.5. But there's no obvious setup in knight and pawn endgames. Generally, there aren't basic fortresses or basic concepts for ways to save the game. So this one, I mean, I'm sure it's a draw according to the computer, but I don't feel good about it for Fabi. I don't feel good at all about this one. This one, I think there's a high chance of it being decisive in white's favor.
Especially if he can lure Fabi into mutual time pressure, perhaps.
Right.
Okay, well, I feel like we jumped right in. We probably buried some of the leads in terms of talking to you about your tournament. So let's do a little bit of that, because I know you're busy and you worked hard already today. You are the defending Norway chess champion right now, and you're leading the tournament in clear first here after 5 rounds. Is there something about being in Stavanger? Do you like it here, or are you just you're just feeling good here? Or what can you say about what your chess has been over the last couple of years here?
Well, I think, first of all, the rounds are quite late, which is nice. No other tournament in the world, I think, has rounds that start at 5 o'clock, which is definitely, I think, to my advantage. I'd also argue it's to Magnus's advantage as well. I know he likes it when the rounds start very late as well. So probably the late round helps, but just in general, it's a very nice place. The people are very, very welcoming. And also, frankly, I've been here so many times over the years now that, in a way, I don't want to say it feels like home, but it's somewhere that I'm very comfortable with. So yeah, it's just the vibes are good, and I feel like I've played pretty good chess. I also think you know, my opponents are feeling a lot more pressure than I am, and I feel like every tournament I'm surprised when that's the case and I do well, but I just enjoy playing, and it's good because I don't play that many classical tournaments as well. So for me, it's very fresh. Whereas I think for some of the other people like Fabiano, who's probably going from here to like a Grand Chess Tour to St. Louis to God knows how many tournaments in a row. I mean, it's very hard to actually enjoy chess when you're playing it day in and day out every single month. And for me, I don't do that anymore. So I think that helps a lot as well in terms of just being very positive.
I wanted to ask you, Hikaru, about some of the thoughts you mentioned in the confessional booth. First of all, thank you for doing it. We all love every appearance in the confessional, and we are rooting for you to go back 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day. Some of the players started copying you. Thank goodness you started that trend. But some of the thoughts you mentioned today were actually really tough for you from the human perspective of facing Ding Liren. Can you elaborate on that? And do you think he will be able to find himself?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very strange because Ding is someone that I have not played against since I played him in the candidates in 2022. But frankly, even before that, I mean, just having played him over the years, you get a certain feel for how people are, and he just seems like a completely different person. And, you know, obviously I've seen what people have said. I saw what Magnus said even about him being like permanently broken or something along those lines. But it's still very strange to see it in person when I compare that to the Ding that I played against in 2022 or the Ding who crushed Magnus actually in that rapid tiebreaker in St. Louis, and I think it was 2019. So it's just surprising to see. I think for me the hardest thing is just staying focused on the game, because obviously it started to feel like at some point it wasn't really about the game, and you know, it's difficult, but still, I mean, it is a competition. You have to stay focused.
Yeah, and Hikaru, I know yesterday you hiked up the rock. I hope I'm allowed to share that. Do you feel that Norway now, having won last year, you mentioned it's your home, do you feel that this is the year for you as well? Well,
I mean, there's more rounds to go, but I'm in a very good position. I think in general, when you start a tournament with double blacks against the top 2 players specifically, and you're able to avoid losing the classical portion at least, that sets a very good trend. When I combine that with some of my wins and the fact that I have 3 whites and 2 blacks in the remaining games, I mean, I would guess I'm the odds-on favorite, but you know, I'm just here to play and have fun, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, it's going well so far. I have one more chess question because it's been a storyline that we've been diving into. We'll bring up the bird's eye view just so everyone can keep an eye on the action while we talk with Hikaru. Looks like Anna Musichuk it might be on her way to winning her game. And by the way, Vaishali and Lei Ting Jie already drew their game as well, so they're headed to Armageddon. But Hikaru, one of the themes that we've been talking about through the first 5 rounds, I want to get your take on, because it feels like we talked about the confessional booth, which we do love, and part of the reason you've been able to be there via your own admission is that you've been a little bored at times out of the opening because you're getting prep maybe from the candidates. You're getting positions that you seem to be well prepared in. But mine and David and Anna's observation was you seem to be doing that very well right now overall, that you've been guessing your opponent's openings or choosing the right opening for Armageddon. Is there something to that? Do you think we're right in terms of that observation? Do you feel like you're doing a good job guessing what the right opening is for the right opponent at the right time in general right now?
I mean, without going to specifics, I think I think what it comes down to ultimately is my approach to chess is very, very different than it used to be. You know, I think one of the reasons, for example, that I've scored so well against Fabiano over the last couple of years is because I want to say that the openings that I played or the approach that I had became very, very, very plain and very predictable, I felt like, between, I would say, 2017 and 2019 specifically. And the way that I play now is very different. It's something that I think basically none of the other top players really try to do, which is I try to play and have fun. I would say most of the other top players are much more concerned if they go and lose a game in 15 moves and look like an idiot. It's kind of the end of the world if that happens to me. It's not that big of a deal, frankly. So I think my whole approach has shifted. I think some of the players like Fabiano, they've struggled a lot to understand it. For example, in his C-Squared podcast, I know Fabi was very critical of this first game of the candidates where I played this E5 line, basically saying it's insane to prepare something for one game. But again, that sort of comes back to the approach and how you go about chess. And for me, you know, I'm not studying chess anywhere near as much as I used to. I stream most of the time, and I'm busy with many projects. So my approach is quite different. I think a lot of the top players have struggled to adapt to that, and they're kind of just not ready for it. That being said, today I got a little bit lucky because I was playing against Ding, who I think is probably one player here who was unaware of a certain game that was played in the French Team Championship with one of the people that I worked with for the candidates. That would be Niels, of course. And I think Ding wasn't aware of that game. Whereas I think, for example, today, if I had this against Fabiano or Magnus, they for sure saw that game. I think. So.
By the way, speaking of Fabiano's game, you called it. You said this was going to be harder to hold than it looked, and now it looks like he might be up against the wall. Why do you think the computer is saying that White is potentially winning now? What do you see?
Oh, is there King D4? Is there a Zugzwang?
Oh, he found it. You're right.
There's a Zugzwang, I think.
How did you just spot King D4? What is the Zugzwang that you know there?
No, but the thing is, none of the pieces can move. Like, if you look at it, where can Black's pieces move? You can't go King F6 because of Knight H6. You can't go Knight F6 because of Knight H6. You can't go H5 because of Knight G7.
And if King F7, King E5?
King E5, King G6, King E6. This is getting very, very dangerous. I think this might just be lost, actually, for Fabi now. Yeah, I think this is actually just going to be lost.
Wow.
I mean, like I said, this is the sort of thing I feel like I've probably seen this 100 times in Magnus games, where you get some endgame one that's not like a rook and pawn, but like something like knights, and there's a little bit of maneuvering. So it looks, yeah, very, very impressed by Pragg. I'm actually a little bit surprised from Fabiano because he's in a situation where he had the time. If it were the other way, where Pragg had 12 minutes and he had 1 minute, I could see this, but he was the one with 12 minutes, and yeah, this looks winning for White. I think this is just winning, actually. What do you do? Oh, and there's actually, I just realized it's even beautiful. King D7, King E5, King D8, King E6, King E8. You can probably just go G5, takes, King F8, G6, King E8, G7, and you just lose.
That is wild.
Actually, the knight is stuck.
The knight's stuck on G8.
Yeah, this might just be winning for White, actually. I think this is just winning for White.
Just going to put that line on the board very quickly. I tried to follow with arrows, Hikaru, but just in this position, you mentioned Zugzwang, basically.
It's just over.
Yeah.
And then King D8, King F7, and the knight is stuck.
Zugzwang.
Beautiful.
This would be the second loss for Fabi in classical chess in a row. And you are playing against him tomorrow, Hikaru, with the white pieces. How do you approach the game? And what do you think it means for Fabi when it comes to being the world number 2, but not really doing very well here at the moment?
Well, I mean, I think I'll approach it like I approach any game, obviously, which is just to try and play good chess from the start. Don't have anything specific in mind right now, but You know, he has lost 2 games in a row, so we'll kind of see what happens. I mean, I guess he hasn't lost yet, let's be clear, but it looks very likely that he's going to lose the game. So just try to approach the way I always approach these games, which is just play without any stress and enjoy myself. I mean, I know most people don't believe that, but I just try to be competitive. And if I win, I win. If I don't, I don't. But who cares?
Well, whether they believe it or not, the results speak for themselves. Don't know how else to say it. And you're playing well right now, and it's enjoyable to watch. I would keep you here and just keep analyzing with us, but I also know that you.
I mean, I can answer a few more questions.
Okay, cool.
People with questions.
Well, we'll keep an eye on this game. I definitely want to know if Prague converts or not, but we'll keep talking here. So, the
he didn't play King F6, did he?
He did. He's allowing knight takes h6.
Yeah, he has just played King F6.
Knight H6, game over. What?
And Prague has just played
Wow.
Knight takes H6.
No, I mean I get that he's going to get the knight active with knight E7, but I mean this is just winning.
He just put his head in hand. I think he missed it.
No, you know, this is one thing actually that I don't. I mean, not to be critical of Fabiano, but it is the one thing I would say is that he is out of all the top players. I feel like he makes more of these double question mark, like crazy blunders than anybody else. When sometimes when he gets low on time, and I think that is one of his big weaknesses. Like I feel like Magnus and I obviously blunder less, but I feel like even when I look at some of the other top players like Nepo, you see far less of these like just complete lapses in the same kind of way that you see from Fabi. So it is tough to see, obviously. I mean, especially you know in the candidates. I mean, Nepo, myself, Fabi were all so close, and we weren't able to get the job done. But it is what it is.
Coming back to that, because Gukesh ultimately did win the candidates, and he's playing against Ding Liren. Just to circle back to Ding Liren, what possible advice could you give or think to give someone in Ding Liren's spot? I mean, have we ever seen anything like this from someone who reached the pinnacle of their sport, right? Achieved his goal and has been here. So, I mean, I know that I'm not trying to draw an unnecessary parallel, but you have been playing the best chess of your career over the last few years from the perspective, as you've said, that you are more relaxed. As you said, you're here to have fun. You're enjoying the game. What could Ding do to get back to enjoying the game? Because when we watch him, it's not even just that he's playing bad. It's painful because he's not even enjoying it at all, and you can see it. So what would be your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so first things first, I think Prague missed a win with knight f7. I think knight f5 was just winning on the spot. This might be winning too, but I think knight f5 might have been cleaner. Also, I think Prague won a game in Viker somewhere in a very beautiful knight and pawn endgame against Ding. Speaking of Ding as well. So Prague has played some of these great knight and pawn endgames. But back to your question, yeah, I don't really know what's going on with Ding. Like maybe it's just the psychological pressure of having become the world champion when, I mean, most people assume that Magnus is still the best player in the world. So perhaps that's part of it. I really don't know what it is, but it's just very bizarre to see. And I would say that barring some huge change, I mean, I think right now Gukesh is a massive favorite to win that match. I would say. I mean, I said it before, even without the results of like the last round or this round, but I don't think that match is going to be close. And the more I think about it, I think it's very likely going to be in Gukesh's favor. So I don't know. I don't know what he can do. Not sure, really.
Yep.
Maybe he should become a streamer.
Maybe he should
Just a
become.
I mean,
suggestion.
it's fun to make jokes, but I mean, at the end of the day, I would say I think I don't think it's as simple as saying like he's playing bad chess. Like I could lose the next 5 games and I could be in a very bad mood, but that just means I'm playing bad chess. It feels like there's something more going on. So it's easy to make the jokes, but
I agree, and I think jokes aside, I think it's partly what we're saying is that he's not enjoying it, and you are enjoying playing chess, and it's one of those things that
it's easy to play chess when the results don't matter.
right. And so you're in a different spot, and I think it shows.
Come on, King f6 Prague. Finish the game. Finish the game off. King f6.
He's got only 20 seconds.
I mean, f5 also is good. F5 also probably just I mean, f5 also works. Yeah. King f6 and.
Time pressure.
Yeah, King f6 and then knight d6. King f6, King g4, knight d6, g6, g7. Push the p. Game over.
He did it. He's found.
I mean, you could also go for the beautiful knight h6, King h5, g6 takes g7, King h7, King f7, which also works. But he'll go to d6 just because it's a little bit too stressful.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, h6 wins, but you see d6 and you can't stop the pawn. It's all over. So, yeah. Good win for Prague. So.
Wow. I think
I mean, this is also why one of the things that I've said a lot is, I mean, ultimately, I do think the future of chess, when you look, 10 years down the road, the path is going to run through India. Because honestly, I don't think you can really say that any one of them are better than the others. I mean, on one hand, I feel like Arjun is the best. Sometimes Gukesh is the best. Sometimes Pragg plays these games, and you could argue he's the best. So it's very hard to see a world where if you look like 5-10 years down the road, at least one, if not more, of these guys are at the very top competing for the world championship.
All right, well, last question. I got to do it because it came in from chat. Jack3412 wants to know, Hikaru, how would you feel about replacing Ding in a world championship match if he did retire from chess?
Well, there's something we recorded yesterday, so I probably shouldn't answer this in a certain way because we did a certain lie detector thing yesterday. So, so I'll try to answer this. How do I answer
diplomatically? As
everybody's going to hate me for saying this, but it'd be a nightmare. I mean, I have my schedule mapped out very nicely between now and the end of the year, and if I had to play the match, that would be a disaster because I would suddenly have to shift everything and go do it. And frankly, I don't want to do that. So I know people are going to be mad at me for saying that, but that's actually true. It would mess up.
Is there like a deadline for you?
Schedule in my
I mean, legitimately asking, if it was like, look, I actually wouldn't do it if it was a week out, but I would do it if it was a month out.
I would do it kind of no matter what, I guess, but it would ruin my schedule. And I even said this about the candidates that, I took basically a month before the event to prepare, and it cost me a ton of income from streaming that I couldn't do. So, I would play it, but I would say right now I would not be particularly happy about it just because it would ruin my routine, my schedule, and everything that I've set up for the rest of the year. And I don't really need more chess. So, if I would play if I replaced Ding, but I wouldn't actually be all that happy about it.
Yeah. What a wild world that would be, and obviously no one is wanting that for Ding Liren. We're all wishing him the best and hoping, but it is a conversation that we're all having for a reason.
You're going to know that I'm telling the truth when the lie detector stuff comes out.
Okay, we'll do it after the video. Right. Okay, do it after the video. All right. Well, now everyone knows they have even more content to look forward to with Hikaru because that was a very fun video yesterday that you can be ready for. So, all right, man, this is awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're gonna dive back into these other games and let you go. And this has been great. Best of luck in the rest of the event.
Thank you.
All right.
Good luck.
Congratulations! You beat the reigning world champion. You're back over 2,800 on the live rankings and the new live world #2. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's obviously quite nice to get a win today with the black piece against Ding, who seems to be out of form. So yeah, it's just really nice. I thought it was a pretty smooth game most of the way. There was maybe one moment when I traded the rooks, or I didn't trade the rooks. I could have done that, but overall, I think it was just very, very good. So it was it was a good day.
Hikaru, what was the approach at the beginning of the game? Obviously, you feel that Ding is not in his best shape. You see him, and you've mentioned it as well. He doesn't look right. What is your approach with the black pieces? Are you trying for an advantage? Are you trying to keep the game going? What was the strategy going into today's round?
Yeah, I think I've said a few times. I had some prep, which I used today. I thought I was going to catch Ding by surprise. There's some things I use, some things that I don't use, and so I thought this knight f6 was a little bit surprising for Ding. Of course, I assume Fiona probably noticed this, or some people didn't notice, but this move is very rare. It's not played very frequently. I think I said this in confessional that one of the original inspirations for this is that I saw this random 2200 guy who always plays Entitled Tuesday. He's probably played this move 10 times or something more. To be fair, I was recently in Morocco where we played a lot of classic games, and people probably remember there were some games played by, I think it was Marshall and players that nature. This used to actually be very common if you go back 80, 90 years from modern day. But again, it's not very common these days. But then again, one of the people I worked with for the candidates, Niels Grandilius, he actually played this today against, I think, Sabino Brunello in the French league. A couple hours before the game, so I was mildly annoyed to see that. But also, I didn't talk.
When did you see it actually?
I saw it as soon as the game started. I was aware that he was going to play it. But what I would say is that I didn't speak about this, but they're also one of the things, and I guess you're here, Christian, so I don't know if you want to shed any light on this, but I do know some players, like a certain former world champion, where there's certain people who work on their team for various matches or things of that nature. There's certain rules that you're not allowed to play some of this prep for a certain amount of time. And that was one of the things that, for me at least, since I don't actually play that many tournaments, was when I worked with my team for the candidates, I basically said, whatever, have at it, play whatever you want to play. I'm not gonna say you can't play something for 6 months or 12 months. Whereas I know a former world champion has had such rules in effect when he's worked with people.
Yeah, that was
So like
kind of our approach as well.
which
That
is
just you can play whatever. After the candidates, everything is free reign. for
yeah, I
everybody.
mean, in general, I feel like that's how it should be, of course, when you work with people. But as I said, I mean, I know for a fact that Magnus in some cases has had this stuff. I think Kasparov also at some point had this, although obviously back then it was a different world when Gary was the world champion. Because like, I mean,
Things
the
are happening
information
much
flow was so
faster right
different.
now.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, so basically I was a little bit unhappy to see that Niels had played this earlier today, but then at the end of the day, I also felt that Ding he's coming here with his preparation and he's not paying a lot of attention to the close details, specifically because and I also said this in confessional, but in round 2 there was a game between Alireza and Fabiano, and then when Ding had it 2 rounds later against Alireza, he just played the wrong move order. So that sort of told me that Ding is not paying really close really close attention to the details of what's going on, and so I wasn't super concerned that he would be ready for this. But I mean, pretty much from the get-go, it just seemed like he wasn't really well prepared in this variation that occurred in the game.
Yeah, yeah. And when did you feel, because I was kind of taken aback, especially at this point, you said that if he cannot take on e5, which he actually cannot take on e5, you're better. You said that if he goes castle, you feel like you're going to win this game. Objectively, this
Well,
position is still very close to equal. If not,
yeah,
maybe
but
white is slightly better. Why did you feel that you have such a
well, I
that
mean, I
good?
thought after Rook C8, I wasn't really sure what how white is better, because also there's a problem that, like, do you go for a concrete line like Rook D1, or do you try to play something else? And also, I'd say, frankly, the body language is already very bad from Ding. He was already kind of very shaky, I guess you could say. He wasn't really like he just wasn't really there. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's the simplest way of putting it, is he just simply wasn't there. So in general, yeah, like, I mean, Rook D1 Knight D4, what's he do? Queen where?
Yeah, Queen D3 seems to be the only way.
Yeah,
And
but I mean, even Bishop F3 and Bishop C5. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that White's actually better here. Honestly,
yeah,
like Bishop F3 takes Bishop C5, and I have the Great Knight on D4. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm better or anything, but it's zero risk, I would say.
I think the only move after Rook C8 is Bishop C4, which is a very strange move indeed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is a bit much to expect here, because Bishop D6 and then what?
Yeah, Bishop D6 and now something like H3 or something like that. But yeah, it's very
you don't
not
have to worry about the
it's
bishop.
very unnatural. Yeah.
Yeah, this doesn't seem realistic at all. Yeah, like I mean, when he played Queen B3 and I went Knight A5, I was already just very happy. I mean, frankly, I was just very confused. Like, you know, it's very hard to know what to say or not to say, but as I said in the confessional, like, I mean, I've played against most of these players, like a Fabiano or a Nepo or a Ding or Magnus. I mean, we've all played each other so many times over the last decade plus, and I was just it was just very strange, the whole thing. It was just very strange to see to see Ding's body language, I mean, and everything. And I really hope that he can find a way to turn it around, because if he doesn't, I mean, the match is going to be an absolute bloodbath.
Yeah, yeah. And Queen
Did you
A4.
see
Yes, go ahead.
Ding's reaction when he played Queen B3 and you played Knight A5 and he just seemed distraught? Did you catch that, or were you?
I mean, I didn't catch up, but like, I could give you another example. When he played against Alireza in round 3, and he blundered this Rook takes G7, he was in the back room and he literally stood there just staring at the screen for 10 minutes. He put his head in his hands. Like, there are all these like visible reactions from him that I never saw. I never saw them ever, basically, from all the Grand Chess Tours, every event I played. I never saw any of this. So like, it wasn't a complete surprise to me in a way to see it today, but it was still, it's just jarring, because again, it's like, I don't know, it's like, I'll give you an example. It's like if Nepo gets up and turns the board over or something. Let's say I play him and beat him and he turns the board over. Like, that's not going to happen until it happens. And it's one of those things that it's just very hard really to rationalize. And frankly, it was very difficult in a way to play. I know a lot of people probably don't believe me when I say this, but it was very hard to kind of just like focus on the game, because of like how much he was shaking. And like,
it's really not about the chess at that point is the problem. It's like it's not about the chess. You just feel like there's something wrong. If someone makes a bad move and they're shaking their head or whatever, that's one thing. But it really felt like it was more. So it actually was kind of hard. But luckily for me, Ding played moves that were very passive and timid, and it wasn't hard for me to come up with basic ideas.
Yeah, yeah. Bishop c5, king to f1. At this point, you must have felt quite good about your position, if not practically winning. At least that's the way we felt. It felt like white just simply doesn't have what piece to touch in the position.
Yeah. No, of course, absolutely. I mean, at this point, it was more a matter of what was the best way to continue the game, whether to take on c1 or go knight d4. But I played knight d4. I mean, the great thing about a lot of these positions or a lot of games so far is that I'm in these critical positions with a lot of time on the clock, where it's one way as well. So yeah, I was very happy when I got to this point. But I think knight e2, I mean, maybe it's the best move, but I wasn't so happy when I did it. After b4, bishop b6. Like I mean, I thought maybe I should have played f5 here, for example, instead of taking or something along these lines. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I thought maybe this was better than what I did in the game, but yeah. So I took on e2, and then apparently after takes, yeah, what did I play? King e6. Yeah, apparently I'm supposed to go g5 and just start playing on the king side, and this is terrible. But I don't know. Like I am a human at the end of the day, so I thought I had to be active because I figured if he gets rook c3 and rook c1 or something, and he's able to stabilize it, maybe he can draw the game.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, apparently I can trade and go g4 and play on the g file, but I mean, if you know the plan, it's obvious. If you don't, then I think it's very hard to spot it. So yeah, so then I didn't do that. Right, rook c3, check, bishop. Yeah, and I was actually shocked to find out after the game that king takes f2 is playable. I assume this was just lost after takes king g1, rook d8, but apparently white can go rook c1, and there's still some chances to save the game.
So perhaps this
like
is what he was worried about
c3,
as well.
Yeah.
Rook e2.
Yeah, but I mean, it's very hard to believe in this rook d3. You have to see bishop e1, bishop f2, that you're not losing something on the king side. I mean, it's very, very tough.
Yeah, you give up a pawn. I mean, this is just practically impossible to hold. Now, obviously, you've mentioned that Ding is not feeling like himself. You've been not in his situation, but in a similar situation of a slump. You went down to like 27-30. You came back from that slump. What were the feelings? What is Ding feeling right now? Forget about the physical aspect of it. Emotionally, psychologically, what is he feeling right now being in this slump?
Well, I mean, the first thing, I mean, to be completely fair, is that I haven't been in the exact same situation because I haven't been the world champion. So I think, I mean, you can't say I know exactly what he's feeling, because I think certainly when you have that title, there is a lot more pressure on you. But my guess is actually that I get the sense that probably in his mind, around the time of the candidates, I get the sense that I think he was kind of ready to retire. He was ready to kind of withdraw a little bit, and then sort of by chance, I mean, he qualified for the candidates. Then of course he beat me in the last round. Then he won the match against Nepo, which, I mean, if we're being completely honest, he probably should have lost multiple times. And so I think it was a combination of all those things, and suddenly he ends up being the world champion. Then he probably feels like there are a lot of expectations, and I think it's more the expectations, and then the problem of knowing he's not the best player in the world. I mean, there's this guy in Norway here who's a little bit better. So I think it's just a combination of all the pressure is just getting to him. But I do feel like there's probably something going on besides just the pressure. I just felt like the way he was shaking at the board today on a position that was not like completely lost, for example. It felt. I mean, it didn't feel good. I'm just gonna say that it felt like there's something more going on than just bad play. Because plenty of people get a bad position, they shake and everything. I mean, Ali Reza, for example, he's had many bad positions. Like Pragg is bouncing up and down a lot of times too when I played him. But it just felt like it was very early in the game, and already when I was in that long thing for like 30 minutes, he was already starting to shake. And it just it just feels bad. It feels bad. I mean, obviously only Ding can comment on what is or isn't going on, but it's just very, very awkward. Very, very awkward.
Yeah. Fiona?
Coming back to the game, how did you feel during this conversion phase towards the end?
Yeah, I mean, I thought what I did was relatively good. I mean, the question was whether to trade the rooks. That was the question. And I decided not to, just because I wasn't 100% sure if this endgame was winning. I mean, I assumed it was winning, but I wasn't 100% sure. And it's like, if I'm not 100% sure, why do I want to go into this? I mean, Chris told me this was winning, but maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's not. But the point was, like, I'm up a pawn and I can just keep playing on forever with no risk. And I really found it hard to believe this is ever going to be like a draw or a fortress. So yeah, basically here already I felt very, very good about everything. And I mean, maybe I could have traded the rooks, but I thought what I did was completely fine as well.
Yeah, and it felt like from a practical perspective, just keeping the rooks on the board, it just makes much more sense.
Yeah, I mean, because basically there can never be a fortress. That's the thing. Like, he's always got the weak pawn on e4. I mean, even if I get f5 e4, for example, at some point, I'm not even sure that's a draw. So yeah, I think everything was pretty straightforward. So it was pretty good.
And finally, you found this very nice plan of putting the bishop on e2 and at this point forcing the loss of another pawn because there's no more rook to e3. At this point,
Right.
it felt like you kind of relaxed, understood that this is game over, and he did as well. Well, Hikaru, congratulations, 2,800 after many, many years. What does this matter? What does
I mean,
what does this feel for you?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter that much to me. I think, you know, I mean, if there's one thing that lately has been going through my mind, is sort of like, I know people probably aren't going to believe me when I say this, but like, I've sort of seen, like, there's a famous saying, I think, which is that, you know, when you're about to die, your life flashes, or like your whole life flashes before your eyes or something. I mean, I think I've heard this multiple times. But I would say, like, when I was playing the candidates towards the end, at some point I started to feel like my whole chess career in some ways was like flashing in front of my eyes, where it's like I see like this whole progression towards this point, and ultimately I would say the end is nearer than the beginning for my chess career. So today, once I knew that I was winning, actually, I had this sort of flashback to I think it was 2012, maybe. I don't know the exact year, but the first time I ever broke 2,800 was when I won this game out of preparation. Like, I blitzed like 20 moves against Karyakin in the Zurich Chess Challenge, and he responded poorly. I won the game without really much of a fight. And I went out to celebrate with my stepfather. I remember it very well. I went to like this very fancy Italian restaurant. I think I even had some wine that night. And then the next day I played against Vichy Anand, who at that point I was dominating. And I think it was maybe the only loss, or maybe one of two losses to Vichy in classical chess, happened the next day, and a Queen's Gambit declined. So like in my mind, once this game is near the end, that whole sort of story is flashing, or that whole memory is kind of flashing in front of my eyes or in my head, you could say. And so it doesn't really mean a whole lot to me. It's obviously quite nice to get back to 2,800, but I think, much like I've said in the past, you know, for me, I'm playing with house money at this point. I think, you know, I can sort of see the future and see where things are leading, and so it's not that big of a deal for me.
Continuing from that question, you've achieved so much in your career. You're now, I don't know if you've ever been within this small.
Well, Magnus won today, so like it's
yeah,
not really
I know
as
in
close as it
the
looks.
end. But like, let's say either Magnus retired or he loses another couple of games in this tournament or the next event. Is if you ever got to the world #1 spot, is that something that you feel, oh, that would be nice to add to the CV?
You know, it's very tricky to answer this question, just like it was tricky to answer a question I was asked on the chess.com broadcast, because yesterday I did a little bit with Danny Wrench for like part of this, like the chess.com lie detector thing. And the problem is that I don't really want to answer this question, because if I answer this question, it's going to give away sort of how I answered a certain question about whether I care whether I become world champion. So I don't really want to get into that specifically.
We'll wait for the video.
But no, it's just tricky because how I respond is going to give away what the answer to that question is. And it's like I don't want to ruin it ahead of time. So what I would say, generally speaking, is that it would be nice to be #1 in the world. But I would say that mostly, if I can get back to whatever my peak was, that would be incredible. Because frankly, I would say that I think I don't think I'm as good a player as I was when I reached my peak in 2015. But I would say from a mental standpoint, I'm much better than I was back then. So it's kind of this weird trade-off between like mental versus like actual ability. But I mean, it would be nice, but I think in general, I've said it before, I feel like I'm playing with house money. I feel like I have been for the last couple of years. And mostly I just want to be competitive. And if I'm competitive, I'm going to be happy regardless of the outcome. And I feel like in general, I also said this in an interview with Norway TV before the event. Like if I just get to play chess, if someone outplays me in this event, so be it. Magnus outplays me in some middle game, some end game, so be it. That's life. But if I can just be competitive, I'm always going to be happy. So yeah, I feel like I've done a great job so far, and just showing that I can still play.
Well, Hikaru, with you being in the lead at halfway point, with all the games being done in this round, I think it's only fair for you to sign us off.
Yeah, so I guess I'll sign off for now, you guys. I'm gonna have to go eat dinner pretty soon. And you know, go eat dinner, go from there, do a recap afterwards, and we'll just keep moving forward. So I guess tomorrow's round 6. So I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed the show. Have a good one. Bye bye.
See you tomorrow.